In this video, we're going over 31 ultra rare $2 bills worth over $1,150. Did you know the United States still produces $2 bills to this day? That's right, guys. You can literally go to your local bank and pick up a fresh pack of $2 bills. My name is James, and I've helped collectors buy and sell millions in rare collectibles. All of the sale prices in this video are backed by real data from top auction houses like Heritage. Sit back, strap in. This is going to be a great video. You don't want to miss a single note we go over. Let's go ahead and hop right into this video with this first bill. It is a $2 bill from 1976, and it sold online for $1,150. Now you may be asking yourself, why would a $2 bill sell for this much money? A lot of people think when they come across a $2 bill, it's going to be worth a lot of money. Heck, I still carry around $2 bills, and I'll give them out as a tip, or I'll pay with them at the grocery store, and people usually lose their minds. They think it's the coolest thing ever. Well, if you ever came across this bill, you would not want to spend it based on how much it sold for. So what do you really need to look out for here? There's two things on this $2 bill that made it worth so much money. First of all, and I'll make this quick, condition. The condition of your bill is so incredibly important. Why? Because collectors will pay more money for a bill that's in better condition. So that means if you come across a $2 bill, do not fold it, do not tear it, don't get it dirty, don't get it stained, don't do anything that will decrease its condition, because you can see here this one was graded by PCGS at a 68 PPQ. Now 70 is the highest grade, so it's only 2 points away. More on how to get a higher grade later. But the second thing on this $2 bill is going to be in the serial number. So if you look at the bottom left serial number and the top right serial number, the numbers match identically, which is a good thing. But at the end of the serial number, you're going to see a star. Now that star is very important because it signifies that this is a replacement note. Now replacement notes are actually produced during a normal print run at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. They're put off to the side and used in situations if there are damaged notes during the printing process or if there's any error notes, which I'll show you here in a little bit. So essentially, if you come across a star note, that means it's replacing a damaged or mistake note. Pretty cool, right? So the combination of a high grade plus the star replacement, this banknote was able to sell online for $1,150. Here we have two $2 bills, and they sold for a total of $2,585. Now the reason why we wanted to show you these bills is because this is what we call sleeper notes. The type of bills that you really wouldn't think would be worth a lot of money, and most people would never have the attention to detail to catch them. So if you're looking at the front and the back of these bills, everything looks very, very normal. But please pay close attention to the serial numbers. So if we're looking at the top bill, you can see the top right serial number ends with 483. The bottom left serial number ends with 338. Then when we go down to the second bill, the bottom left serial number ends with 438, and the top right serial number ends with 538. So this is what we call a mismatched serial number error, where the serial numbers on the bill don't match. This is incredibly rare and incredibly valuable. And here's the cool part. You can do this too. Quite literally, you can go to your local bank and be friendly to the person that's helping you out. Say something like, hey, I was wondering if you had any fresh $2 bills or if you could order some in. The next step would be go through those $2 bills very carefully and look for any rare $2 bills like you see in this video. Get this, worst case scenario, if you find nothing rare, you can bring that stack of $2 bills back to the bank and return it back into your bank account. So the worst case scenario here is that you have some fun looking through rare $2 bills. And the best case scenario is you find some rare paper money like you see in this video. Once again, these two $2 bills sold for $2,585. When you're looking at the front of this $2 bill, you'd be wondering why it sold for $2,640. Now when it comes to the printing process, the back of the bill is actually the first print. The front of the bill is the second print, and the third and final print is going to be the overprint, which is the green seal on the right, the green serial numbers, and the black district seal on the left. Now, it's not till you flip the bill over to the back you can see this is a pretty big mistake. This is what we call an offset printing error. So to keep it very brief, to tell you how this happened, the machine was printing the second print, but there was no paper in the print machine. So that ink came right down onto the plate, and then when they did feed the sheets digits in, it transferred onto the back of the bill. Pretty cool, right? Well, we'll keep that one brief, but that is why it sold for $2,640. Now, I want to start on the back of this bill that sold for $2,880. What you're looking at here is the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The scene includes 42 of the 56 signers, with Thomas Jefferson at the center, handing the draft to John Hancock, who was the president of the Continental Congress. Now, the area I want to show you is on the back bottom right side of this bill. That little number there is called a backplate number. Now, the backplate number is essentially an internal number used to see where this bill was located on a printing plate. So to produce these bills, they make big plates that wear out over time. So a BEP employee can look at this number on the back of the bill and know exactly which location on a printing plate this bill is located. Pretty cool, right? Well, remember earlier when I told you the back of the bill is the first print. When you flip the bill over to the front, you can see everything that looks normal here is the second print. And the third and final print here is called the overprint. And on this bill, the overprint was inverted. So it was printed upside down, which is a huge mistake. Not only that, but it got through quality control. Oopsies. But hey, that mistake allowed someone to make $2,880 online, $3,960 for this 1976 $2 bill. Now, one thing I want to show you is the centering. So there's two things that allow your banknote to get a high grade. The first thing is making sure there's not a single fold on your bill. That means not a fold down the center, not a fold on the corner. If the fold clips the design or touches it in any way, that will immediately drop the grade. If your bill has no folds on it, that means you can get a 60 to 70, which is what you want. You want a high grade. The next thing is the centering, which is the white margin around the bill. You can see the centering here is really bad. The worse your centering is, the lower uncirculated grade you're going to get. In this case, they got a 63. So as we recalled from earlier, the second and third print of a $2 bill is on the front of the bill. When we flip it over to the back, you can see that the first print is missing. Now be very careful, guys. I've seen countless people get scammed online. People will watch a video like mine and say, oh, I can just get an eraser and erase the back of the bill and sell my $2 bill for nearly $4,000. That's not always the case. Companies like PMG and PCGS are highly qualified experts that know how to detect alterations. These companies also have a money-back guarantee that what they put in the holder is indeed genuine. So if you ever want to buy a bill like this, it's smart to buy one that's already graded because you have the safety there. Never buy a raw note like this online because there's a high probability that someone's trying to scam you and they just erased the back or bleached it out. So be careful. Nonetheless, $3,960 for this missing print error. $8,225 for these two $2 bills. I'll keep this one brief, but essentially the first note has a minor misalignment error of the overprint, and the second bill is missing the first print, which is the back, once again. And what's cool about these guys is the serial numbers are consecutive. You can see they're identical except the last three digits are 116 and 117. That means they are in order. But if you found one of these while bank hunting, you could be sitting on some good money because these two bills sold for $8,225. Alright, I'll be quick on this one, but essentially $1,750 this sold for. Now this is what we call an uncut sheet of 16 bills. Now as time progressed at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, they increased the quantity of bills per sheet. Today, it's 100 bills that can fit on a single sheet of printing paper. Pretty wild, right? Now what's cool about these as well is that you can buy uncut sheets online and at the physical Bureau of Engraving and Printing. I know this because I've been fortunate enough to have a ground level tour at the Washington BEP where they print paper money. And at the end of the tour, they drop you off in this area where you can buy memorabilia. This is something that you could pick up. So it's pretty cool. This sheet has a face value of only $32. That's 16 notes times 2, but it sold for $1,750. $2,400 for this 2009 $2 bill. Now this banknote got graded by PMG at a 70 EPQ star. Now this star is pretty unique when it comes to PMG. Every 70 grade will come with a star, but you can also get the star designation on lower grades. Essentially what it means is it has incredible eye appeal, the printing quality is superb, and overall it is a fantastic note. That's what the star means. Now like I was saying earlier, this bill needs to be nearly perfect perfect. Not a single fold on the bill whatsoever. And the centering on the bill, both front and back, the white margins, must be nearly perfect to get this high of a grade. Now, it may seem silly, but this $2 bill from 2009 is typically worth nowhere near this amount of money. But since it got graded at the perfect grade of 70, it was able to sell online for $2,400, $1,800 for this 1976 $2 bill full pack. So earlier I was talking about how you can go to your local bank and get fresh $2 bills. Well, back in the day, someone went to their local bank and they picked up a pack of $2 bills. Today, grading companies like PCGS can actually encapsulate these packs, which is really cool. So as you can see by the band, this has a face value of $200 because 100 notes times $2 is $200, and the serial numbers are in consecutive order. So they go from 001 all the way to 100. You also notice that it's a star note. So this is pretty rare and valuable, and that's why it sold for $1,800. All right, looking at the back of this $2 bill, it looks quite different than the other ones, doesn't it? Well, it sold for $10,281.25, and here's why. So from 1928 to 1966, these $2 bills had Thomas Jefferson's home in Virginia on the back of the bills. Pretty neat, right? Well, what also happened during that period is that these banknotes were called legal tender bills, and the color of the seal and serial numbers on the front of the bills were actually red, as you can see here. But these banknotes are 100% legal tender, genuine United States notes. You could technically bring this bill to your local bank and deposit it, or spend it at your local store. Now, we highly recommend it against doing that with any legal tender $2 bill, but if you haven't noticed already, the overprint on this bill is actually inverted. It's upside down. That is the main reason why this spectacular $2 bill sold for $10,281.25. $88,000, $125 for this $2 bill from 1928. So if you didn't know, 1928 was actually the first year of issue for small size paper money. Before that, we had large size bills that were much bigger than what we're used to seeing today. 1928 is a very special year for the legal tender, especially if you're able to get a star note. Now remember, star notes happen because they are replacing a damaged or error note, and that's exactly what we have here today. So if you come across a 1928A, you can see that A below the date, $2 bill, legal tender, star note, that's in high grade. This one got a 65. You could have something worth a ton of money because this example sold for $88,125. All right, these are really cool. So $2,530 for this 1976 $2 bill. Now, one of the first things that you'll see on this bill is the red specimen lettering on the front and the back. The next thing I want to point out is the serial number. It is a ascending ladder serial number. That means it's going from 2 all the way to 9 in consecutive order. The serial number doesn't really matter. All of these specimen notes have pretty unique serial numbers. What you need to know is that these bills were intended for bank clerks all around the world. Essentially, what was happening is people were counterfeiting money, bringing it to different countries around the world, and trying to deposit it into their bank accounts. That's a big no-no. So what the US did was they sent off a bunch of specimen notes to use as an example so bank tellers could see what a genuine example looked like compared to a counterfeit example. Pretty cool, right? Well, over time, collectors ended up getting their hands on these specimen notes. And collectors simply eat things up like this because they are so rare and unique. So if you ever come across a specimen $2 bill, what you're going to want to do is contact a rare paper money expert. They're going to help guide you to maximize the value of your bill. Now, what we recommend is contacting at least 3 different currency experts to make sure you're not getting scammed and ripped off. Look, here's the reality. If they all tell you the same thing, they're probably telling you the truth. Once again, $2,530 for that $2 bill. $54,625. Now, don't worry. This $2 bill is 100% real. It is genuine. It's a large size $2 bill from the 1800s, and you can tell the condition is incredibly beat up. That's because this is a national banknote, and the nickname for this bill is actually called a lazy deuce because you got a big 2 that looks like it's laying down, and people just call it a lazy deuce. Deuce meaning 2. This one is from the Otoe County National Bank of Nebraska with the charter number 1417. Now, I'll be very brief here, but there were a lot of bills produced for specific banks around the United States. Every bank has a unique charter number. Now, depending on the specific bank your national banknote was produced for, can have a heavy influence on its value. You can see this one got graded by PMG at a very good 8, which is a completely low grade, as you can tell. Hundreds or thousands of people have handled this bill during its lifetime. If only paper money could speak, this one would have quite an amazing story. Once again, $54,625 it sold for. Now, I wanted to throw this one in there to show you what a pristine example looks like compared to the previous one. This one is from the La Crosse National Bank of Wisconsin with the charter number 2344, and it was graded by PMG at a 65. Now, this one is from 1875. It's incredible something like this has stood the test of time considering it's a flimsy piece of paper. I mean, look how crisp and white this thing is. It is just phenomenally beautiful. Now, you may be asking yourself, okay, the previous note that was at a very good 8 sold for about $54,000, so this one, it must be worth so much more money. Well, not actually. It's still worth a lot of money at $52,800, but because it is a different national banknote, the value is going to be different. Like I said, based on which bank it's for, will have a heavy influence on the value, and also market conditions and market timing when the bill is sold is super important. But look at this thing, very pretty. Let's hop into the next one. So starting on the back of the bill, this one sold for $18,000. As we know, during the printing process, the back of the bill is the first print. Flipping it over, the second print is on the front of the bill, and the third and final print on a piece of paper money is going to be the overprint, which you see here is doubled. So there's a few ways to tell if you have a genuine error like this one. I bring this up because this is the most altered error note that I see all the time. People will put this into a printer and try to duplicate the error. If you have a USB microscope or a loop, if you loop the serial number, you're going to be able to tell if it's genuine if the print styles match. If the print styles are different, then you have an altered bill. This is one that I would recommend only buying if it's in a holder by PMG or PCGS. If there's anything online that is raw, meaning not graded, stay away from it. Pretty cool, right? I mean, it's a crazy error note and they bring tons of money. Once again, this one sold for $18,000. All right, guys, we're going to time travel to the mid 1800s. This is a genuine Confederate States of America $2 bill, and this one sold for $20,700. Now, I'll say this. Confederate currency was highly counterfeited, and if you have some, there's a chance you have a counterfeit bill, which is okay. It's a learning experience. I personally am a big fan of Confederate currency. However, most people on YouTube don't really care about it, but there is a vast history about these bills. Now, typically, a $2 bill from 1862 that's a CSA note like this is not going to be worth $20,700 like this one. So why did it sell for so much money? It all comes down to the overprint. So if you look at that green number 2 and the spelled out 2, you can see it's actually upside down. This is called an inverted overprint error. If that was not like that, it would be worth significantly less money. But there's actually a large series of bills that doesn't even have an overprint. They started adding this green overprint to deter counterfeiting. So if you have any Confederate paper money, hold on to it. Some of it can be really rare. Now, this is the same year, except this is a legal tender bill. You can see the quality is much better. You can also see the very ornate designs across the bill, and the back of this bill is just very beautiful. I love old, large size paper money. This one got graded by PMG at a 66, and it sold for $32,900. $79,312.50 for this genuine 1869 $2 bill. Now, probably one of my favorite series is the 1869 series. This is because they are just so beautiful in my opinion. The nickname for the 1869 series are rainbow notes. They call them rainbow notes because you can see on the left-hand side of the bill, you've got these blue security feature fibers. At the top of the bill, you have a green area, and then on the right, you've got a very robust red seal. I mean, look at the back of the bill as well. You've got Roman numerals 2, you've got the digit 2, and then you've got 2 spelled out, along with very ornate, beautiful designs. I'm just a big fan of these large size bills, and they bring a hefty premium in these high grades, $79,312.50. The last one was 1869. This one is 1886. It is a $2 bill, large size banknote, except this one is a silver certificate. So back in the day, you could actually bring a banknote like this to your local bank bank and they would exchange it for a silver coin or two. Our US paper money used to be backed by silver and gold. There's also gold certificates, but none on the $2 bills. This one got graded by PMG at a 68 and it sold for $32,200. All right, 1890. This is a United States Treasury note. I mean, just look at the designs here, especially on the back. Just a beautiful banknote here from 1890. Treasury notes are quite popular in the collecting sphere, and this one sold for $69,000. All right, back to something we're a little more used to. 1976 $2 bill that sold for $29,900. Now that's a lot of money for a little $2 bill, and it's mainly going to come down to the serial number. This is what we call a serial number 1 bill, and it's also a star note. People want the best, and I'm telling you right now, a serial number 1 bill is about as good as it's going to get. You can see the grade of this bill is a 58, which means there's at least one fold somewhere on the bill, either right down the center or clipping a corner going into the design is what I would imagine. From a picture, it's nearly impossible to tell where the fold actually is, but once again, someone paid a hefty premium of $29,900 for this $2 bill. This one's in a better condition at a 64 PPQ, and it sold for $35,250. Now, if you were paying close attention, this is actually the identical bill as the previous banknote we just went over, except they were sold at different times and they were in different holders and they're different grades. So someone cut the other one out of the holder. They might have manipulated the bill. Maybe they tried to press out a fold and they sent it to PCGS and sold it for a lot more money. So that can happen, guys. 1899 genuine $2 bill, large size, silver certificate. People call this a mini porthole note because you can see Washington down there in the small porthole. Beautiful banknote. Usually in lower grades, these are worth a few $100. So it's something that if you want to add to your collection, it is definitely doable. These high grades will demand a hefty premium. This one sold for $30,000. $2,820 for this 1976 $2 bill star note. Outside of the fact that it's a star note, there's not much going on here that allows it to sell for this much money, except this is a PCGS graded 70. So they got the perfect grade of 70. So challenging to get. I need to reiterate that. Getting this high of a grade is a complete challenge, but that's what allowed it to sell for $2,820. I'll be very quick on this one, but once again, a lazy deuce $2 bill. This is also a serial number 1 from the Deseret National Bank of Salt Lake City, Utah. You can see once again, I love seeing these very old beat up bills because it tells a story. These were actually used in circulation. This one sold for $78,000. $3,600 for this $2 bill from 2003. So I want to point you at the serial number. The serial number goes from 9 all the way down to 2 in consecutive descending order. That is why we call this a descending ladder serial number. And it sold for $3,600. $36,000 for this $2 bill from 1869. This is a rainbow note. You can see even PCGS calls it that on the label. Just a beautiful note, and it got graded by PCGS at a 66 PPQ, and it sold for $36,000. $7,500 for this 1976 $2 bill that is a star note and it's a serial number 1 bill. Now, I do want to point out that it is a relatively circulated bill. It's a very fine 30. So the condition is really not that great. Typically, when I see rare serial number 1 bills like this that's in beat up condition, the first thing I think about is that it may have been a pocket piece. So someone kept it in their wallet, their purse, or their pocket, and anytime they're at the bar or had some sort of conversation they wanted to show off or have some sort of conversational piece, they would bring this $2 bill out and say, hey, check this out. I've got a serial number 1 bill. I bet you can't find one of these. Or this legitimately passed many people's hands before someone noticed it and said, hey, this is a rare $2 bill that has a serial number 1 on it. They put it in their pocket. They kept it safe. Now we highly recommend keep it somewhere flat and not fold it because the value will hinge on the condition of your bill. This one sold for $7,500. I'll be brief on this one, but this is a genuine United States $2 bill from 1896. This is called an educational banknote. This bill was part of the famous educational series of U.S. silver certificates, known for their elaborate and artistic designs. The back of these 1896 $2 bills featured portraits of inventors Robert Fulton and Samuel Morse, both of whom were instrumental in revolutionizing transportation and communication. The front of the note depicts an allegorical scene titled "Science Presents Steam and Electricity to Commerce and Manufactures." years, symbolizing progress and technological advances. It's quite amazing to see a bill from 1896 achieve the 67 grade. That is a monstrous grade, and that is why it sold for $30,000. $9,600 for this 1976 $2 bill. I'll be brief on this one, but this is a solid number 1 serial number. So as you can see, the serial number has a bunch of ones, and people like that. You know, regardless of what number is solid, as long as the serial number is a solid one, like this, it's going to fetch a hefty premium, especially if it's a solid number 8 serial number. Those can typically bring a lot of money. This 64 EPQ graded banknote by PMG sold for $9,600. $19,200. This is a 2003 $2 bill graded by PMG at a 63 EPQ. This is once again a star note, and it is a serial number 1 bill. Guys, if you ever come across a rare $2 bill, make sure to hold on to it, keep it safe, contact someone that knows what they're doing. If you do want to learn more about coins and paper money, we have a free coin and currency ebook down below. Make sure you pick that up. We do hope you enjoyed this video, guys. We will see you in the next one.